Lake. La ka lebitso ke Tshepo Mori.
Well, the NCOP's first sitting takes place today to swear in the new delegates of the Council after the sittings of the provincial legislatures that took place yesterday. Provinces saw in the members of the provincial legislatures elected their presiding officers and premiers. Each of the 9 provinces then sends a delegation of 10 representatives to the National Council of Provinces. This delegation includes 6 permanent delegates and 4 special delegates. Those members will be sworn in this morning at 10 a.m., after which the Council will elect the chairperson of the Council. That's what we can expect as we build up to the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces.
Of course, as we kept emphasizing yesterday, that the newly sworn-in members of the NCOP arrived in Cape Town from their respective provinces to come and register themselves as well as to attend the orientation program. The orientation program typically includes briefings on parliamentary procedures, ethical guidelines, legislative responsibilities, and administrative processes. This is important to do before the proceedings of the first sittings, as some members will be joining Parliament for the first time.
Indeed, when we come back, I will be joined by the Secretary to the National Council of Provinces, Advocate Modibedi Pindela, to tell us more about the processes of constituting the National Council of Provinces. So stay with us, we'll be right back.
Building our great South African nation together.
The Parliament of the Republic of South Africa consists of 2 houses, the National Assembly as well as the National Council of Provinces. The National Council of Provinces, or NCOP for short, is constitutionally mandated to ensure that provincial interests are taken into account in the national sphere of government.
The NCOP is uniquely placed to reflect the diversity of our society and to synthesize the experience of those spheres of government charged with the great bulk of the task of implementing the country's national program of fundamental change, close quote.
This is done through participation in the national legislative process and by providing a national forum for consideration of issues affecting provinces. The NCOP also ensures that local government concerns are represented at the highest level. The NCOP consists of 9 provincial delegations nominated by the provincial legislatures and a delegation from the South African Local Government Association, or SALGA for short. Each provincial delegation has 10 members made up of 4 special delegates drawn from the provincial legislature, including the Premier of the province or a person designated by the Premier as head of the delegation. These delegates may change from time to time. In addition to that, there are also 6 permanent delegates. This means every province is equally represented in the NCOP. Similar to its counterpart, the NCOP has office bearers who are responsible for overseeing the duties of the House. Chairperson and 2 deputy chairpersons manage the work of the NCOP and preside over debates, making sure that delegates can speak freely while remaining within the rules. Of the 2 deputy chairpersons, one is a permanent deputy chairperson who is elected for 5 years, while provincial premiers take turns being deputy chairpersons for a year. A provincial whip organizes the work of each provincial delegation. Parties with at least 7 permanent delegates and who do not have members functioning as provincial whips are also entitled to a party whip. The NCOP considers, passes, amends, proposes amendments to, or rejects legislation. It must consider all national bills. The NCOP has oversight of the executive within its role as the representative of the provinces. The NCOP may require a cabinet member, an official in the national government or a provincial government to attend a meeting of the Council or a committee of the Council. The NCOP also conducts oversight visits to the communities in order to ensure that they get direct information on the needs and challenges of the people. All these efforts to make your future work better.
You are still watching Parliament TV and our coverage of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. As we await the start of the sitting at 10 a.m., I am now joined by the Secretary of the National Council of Provinces, Advocate Phindela. Good morning, Advocate, and thank you very much for joining us at Parliament TV.
Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers.
Advocate, our role at Parliament TV is to educate our viewers on the work of Parliament, and we know that today all the eyes will be on the National Council of Provinces. So let's begin our chat by briefly taking us through the constitution of the National Assembly, of the National Council of Provinces rather, including the significance of the first sitting of the provincial legislatures that took place yesterday, in that way constituting the National Council of Provinces.
Yeah, maybe our starting point should be that when you're talking about Parliament, you're talking about the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. We have seen that yesterday the National Assembly had its own first sitting, where they elected the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and the President of the Republic of South Africa. The same applied to the provincial legislatures. They said also yesterday they had an election of the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, as well as the Premiers. But in addition to that, they also nominated or designated their permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces. And today now, we have the sitting of the National Council of Provinces, the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces, consisting of those delegates who were nominated by the provinces to represent them in the National Council of Provinces. Today, we will have the first sitting, as I have indicated. That first sitting would be presided over by the Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, where the Chief Justice will swear in members. The swearing in consists of members taking an oath or making an affirmation to be faithful to the Republic, to be faithful to the Constitution and all the laws of the Republic. Once that has been done, an oath enables members to start performing their constitutional functions. Once they have done that, we know that their constitutional functions entail lawmaking, facilitation of public involvement, overseeing executive action, and international participation. Once they have done that, we will then proceed to elect the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. The chairperson is the equivalent of the Speaker in the National Assembly. Once the chairperson has been elected, the Chief Justice will then vacate the chair, will leave the chair, and allow the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces to take the chair and proceed with the proceedings of the House. We also have an additional item on the agenda today, or on the order paper today, and that item is the election of the Chief Whip of the House. The Chief Whip of the House is elected by the House, as I've indicated. Is not the Chief Whip of a party, unlike in the National Assembly where you have the Chief Whip of the majority party and Chief Whips of other parties. This Chief Whip of the House is the Chief Whip of all members in the National Council of Provinces. When it comes to the composition of the National Council of Provinces, the composition of the National Council of Provinces is such that each province has got 10 delegates in the National Council of Provinces. These 10 delegates, as I've indicated, were nominated yesterday by their provincial legislatures. 54 of the 90, we refer to them as permanent delegates. The permanent delegates are the permanent members of the National Council of Provinces, and those are the ones who would be taking an oath or making an affirmation today in front of the Chief Justice. The other remaining 34 are members of the provincial legislature, so it would not be necessary for them to be sworn in today or for them to affirm faithfulness to the Constitution, precisely because they have already been sworn in or they have affirmed faithfulness to the constitution in the provincial legislatures because they are members of the provincial legislatures. I must emphasize that the permanent delegates are not members of the provincial legislatures, although nominated by the provincial legislatures, but they are not members of the provincial legislatures.
I'm very happy that you've explained that because we needed to know more of how these 90 members work. So I'm happy that you explained that today we'll only be swearing in 54 members because they are not members of the provincial legislatures, and the 36 members who are special delegates have already been sworn in the proceedings in the provinces. So you've outlined the proceedings, but what are the rules that are guiding today's sitting?
And perhaps by way of completeness, insofar as the constitution of the National Council of Provinces is concerned, we also have 10 representatives of organized local government in the form of SALGA. These 10 representatives may participate in the processes and proceedings of the National Council of Provinces, but because they belong to municipal councils, they may not vote in the National Council of Provinces, but they represent the interests of local government in the National Council of Provinces. Insofar as the rules that are applicable today, in terms of the Constitution, the Chief Justice must determine the date on which and the time at which the National Council of Provinces may meet. So Chief Justice has determined today, the 15th of June, as the day on which the National Council of Provinces would meet, and 10 o'clock as the time at which the National Council of Provinces would meet. In addition to that, because this is the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces, insofar as the election of the chairperson is concerned, and yes, insofar as the chairperson of National Council of Provinces is concerned, is the sitting presided over by the Chief Justice. So Chief Justice determines the rules that are applicable to that particular sitting. Beyond that, the rules that would be applicable would be the ordinary rules of the National Council of Provinces.
So thank you for also explaining that. So how does then the NCOP maintain continuity and coherence with the provincial legislatures, especially during transitions after elections or at the start of a new parliament?
Like I have indicated, we have the permanent delegates who represent the interest of the provinces, and we have what we refer to as provincial whips. The provincial whips are the whips of all the leaders. Put in simpler terms, are the leaders of each delegation. So we have 9 provincial whips. In addition to the chief whip of the council, we have 9 provincial whips. So each delegation has its own provincial whip. And that provincial whip serves as an umbilical cord between the provincial legislature and the National Council of Provinces. So that provincial whip is a point of communication between the provincial legislature and the National Council of Provinces. All matters that concern a particular provincial legislature ought to be brought to the attention of the National Council of Provinces by the provincial whip. The provincial whips assist the chief whip of the National Council of Provinces in ensuring that the business of the House, the business of the institution in general is carried out, and is carried out in the manner that it should be carried out.
So what will then be the first order of business for the newly constituted NCOP in its initial session following the first sitting of today?
Well, we still have to have the program committee, for instance. We will first have the rules committee. The rules committee will then determine the number of committees that we should have as the National Council of Provinces. Once we have had the rules committee, we will have the program committee. Then the program committee will determine the program of the National Council of Provinces from now onwards.
So we have these new members coming in. Are they familiar with what is expected of them today? Are they familiar with the rules of the NCOP?
Well, our intention was to have some kind of a dry run today. I hope that we will still have it so that we can familiarize members with the events or the happenings of today.
2,
Yes, Advocate
3,
Chandela. Unfortunately,
4,
viewers, we do
5,
seem to be
6,
having a technical challenge.
7,
Or there are
8.
people that are busy testing their mics while we are busy, but that now has been sorted. But if we can just continue with the question, with the conversation, Advocate, we are still responding. We were interrupted. We are talking about the dry run that has been planned so that members can become familiar with what is expected of them. If you can just continue from where you left.
Yes, I was saying that I hope that we will still have that dry run. But insofar as the functioning of the National Council of Provinces is concerned, we will still have an in-depth induction, an in-depth orientation of members to orientate them about the rules, about the business of the National Council of Provinces and the operations of Parliament in general.
Advocate Chandela, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Parliament TV. But anyway, I am told that we can continue with this conversation.
6.
You have just taken us. There seems to be something that keeps on interfering. My serial operative for them. So the preparation, take us through to what transpired during the preparations of this first sitting.
Well, of course, the first sitting does not only involve us, it also involves the Office of the Chief Justice. So we had to be in constant contact with the Office of the Chief Justice. We had to make sure that indeed the Chief Justice determines the date. We are aware of the date. He determines the time of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. He also makes the rules and publish those rules. Also, we are also in constant contact with the provincial legislatures, because for the National Council of Provinces to sit, the provincial legislatures must have had their sittings. So we had to be in constant contact with the provincial legislatures and make sure that the provincial legislatures also the date for their first sitting and the time are determined. So indeed it has been a very, very involved a process to make sure that we are where we are today.
And as you've mentioned earlier, the orientation, the induction, when is this likely to take place? You know that the members will be sworn in today, the NCOP will be constituted today, but when can we start seeing NCOP getting on with its work as it is expected by the South?
Well, the induction will be running from the 2nd to the 5th of July, and we hope that after that we will then constitute establish the structures of the House. That would be the committees, the select committees. Those are the committees that are responsible for oversight, as well as other committees that we refer to as the House committees, like your program committee, and so on and so on.
Advocate, first, I must apologize for the interference that you see, and I want to thank you very much for taking this interview with Parliament TV, understanding your busy schedule. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned to Parliament TV as we build up to the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces.
What is the legislature?
Can I leave now?
Welcome
Okay,
to
thanks.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
In these videos, we explore different aspects of democratic government and the concept of
Thank you. Okay. Oh, gosh. Thank you very much.
All the best with the rest of the day.
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
You can't sit in the house dressed like that. Better than the robe. Yeah. Let me take this.
Functions and powers between the three branches of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Each branch checks the power of the other two so that there is a balance of power between them. The legislature is responsible for passing laws and for holding the executive branch of government accountable. The legislative authority in the national sphere of government is vested in Parliament, which is the supreme legislative power in the country. At provincial level, the legislature is represented by the provincial legislatures, and in the local sphere by the municipal councils. In this video, we will focus on the national level and outline what Parliament is and what it does, in line with Chapter 4 of our Constitution. The South African Parliament is situated in Cape Town. It is a place where our elected representatives meet and carry out their work. Our Parliament is bicameral. That means that we have two houses of Parliament, known as the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. The National Assembly is made up of 400 representatives from different political parties called Members of Parliament or MPs. South Africans indirectly elect MPs every 5 years by casting votes for the party of their choice. Seats are then allocated to each party based on the number of votes the party received using the proportional representation system. Each party compiles lists of candidates and MPs are allocated from this list in the order the names are listed. Half of the 400 MPs are selected from national party lists and the other half from provincial lists. A party needs to obtain about 45,000 votes for every MP representing it in the National Assembly. This system allows for smaller parties and therefore minority interests to be represented in our legislature. Soon after the national election, the Chief Justice, who is the head of the judiciary, swears in the members of the National Assembly. We explain the role and functions of MPs and political parties, as well as different aspects of elections in the Civics Academy election series. The second House of Parliament is the National Council of Provinces. It came into existence in 1997 and is the body that represents provincial interests at the national level of the legislature. The National Council of Provinces has 90 members. Each of the 9 provinces nominates 10 delegates to this council. The delegation usually consists of the Premier, 3 other temporary delegates who can change from time to time, and 6 permanent delegates nominated for the full term of Parliament. The party representation in the delegations must proportionally reflect the party representation in the provincial legislatures. Now that we know what Parliament is, let's talk about what Parliament does. Each house has its own distinct role and functions, as set out in the Constitution. However, there are also many instances where the 2 houses act together to conduct joint business. To simplify, we are referring to both houses of Parliament here. They have 4 main functions or areas of jurisdiction. These are: 1. The consideration, amendment and passing of draft laws, called bills. Bills are usually introduced by the executive, but they can also be introduced by MPs and are then discussed in parliamentary committees, which may amend provisions and approve them before both houses of Parliament vote on whether to pass them. Parliament must ensure that all bills conform to the provisions of the Constitution before being passed. Otherwise, a High Court can declare the law or parts of it unconstitutional and invalid. If this is confirmed by the Constitutional Court, the law has no force and effect, as if it was never passed. Parliament may also amend the Constitution with a 2/3 majority of votes. Furthermore, the Constitution requires Parliament to allow members of the public to participate in lawmaking processes through written submissions or by giving testimony before parliamentary committees. 2. The election of the President. At its first sitting after the election, the National Assembly elects the President from among its members. The leader of the political party that wins the majority of the seats in the National Assembly is nominated and elected as President. Once elected President, he or she becomes the head of the executive and stops being a member of Parliament. 3. Oversight of the executive. Parliament approves the budgets of government departments and has the duty to scrutinize and oversee the work of the executive and to hold cabinet ministers accountable. The various committees of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces can call cabinet ministers to appear before them to explain their work and to answer questions about their work. In this way, the committees of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces ensure that the members of cabinet do their job properly. The President and his or her cabinet are also required to answer questions in Parliament and to defend their budget every year before the National Assembly. 4. Parliament provides a national forum for consideration of important issues. To achieve this goal, political parties table motions that must be debated and voted on. The National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces carry out their duties in different ways. Each house meets in its own plenary session to pass legislation and debate issues. In extraordinary circumstances, the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces can meet in joint sittings to debate important issues of the day or to listen to important speeches. Beyond these regularly scheduled plenary sessions, the President may at any time summon Parliament for an extraordinary sitting. Parliamentary work is done in a number of different committees, consisting of smaller groups of members. Committees enable members of Parliament to develop expertise and in-depth knowledge of the specific committee's area of responsibility, for example, health, education, or foreign policy. Each house has its own committees. Committees are, in general, proportionally representative of the parties in Parliament and headed by a chairperson. They are required to report regularly on their activities and to make recommendations to their house for debate and decision. There are a number of joint committees of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. For example, the Annual Constitutional Review Committee. Committee meetings are generally open to the public. Summary. The legislature is the representative of the people of South Africa. The 400 plus 90 representatives are given their mandates through regular elections and vote on issues of national importance in Parliament. Parliament is responsible for passing laws and for holding the executive branch of government accountable. The power of Parliament is limited by the Constitution. The judiciary checks the exercise of power by the legislature. Through its work, Parliament is tasked to make sure that the interests of the people of South Africa are represented in all their diversity.
You are watching Parliament TV live, the live coverage of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. The video you just watched is courtesy of the Civic Academy, funded by the Hans Seidel Foundation. By all accounts from the Secretary to the NCOP, the stage is set to kick off the term of the National Council of Provinces. Let's talk about the history of the NCOP. Now, the National Council of Provinces is one of the two houses of Parliament in South Africa, established to ensure that provincial interests are represented at the national level. The NCOP was created following the first democratic elections in South Africa in 1994, replacing the former Senate. The Senate, which was the upper house of Parliament under the apartheid regime. Unlike the Senate, which primarily functioned as a reviewing body, the NCOP was designed to be more participatory and representative of provincial interests.
Yes, and the National Council of Provinces has evolved as a crucial institution in South Africa's democratic framework, playing a vital role in ensuring that provincial interests are considered in the national legislative process. Its formation marked a significant step towards inclusive and participatory governance, reflecting the diverse needs and aspirations of South Africa's provinces. Over the years, the NCOP has navigated various challenges and achieved notable successes, reinforcing its importance of the country's parliamentary system. And Tsepo, I had a privilege of speaking to Advocate Pindela earlier on, and what I like is how he broke down the membership of the NCOP. So, NCOP has 90 members, and those 90 members, 54 of them, they are permanent members. So, that 54 are not members of the provincial legislatures. They are deployed by their provinces to the NCOP, but they are not members of the provincial legislatures. And the 36 who are referred to as the special delegates, those members are members of the provincial legislatures. Hence, you won't see them being sworn in this morning because they would have already been sworn in their provinces. And in addition to that, there's 10 members who are also part of the NCOP but are deployed by the South African Local Government Association. Those members, just like the members, the special delegates, do not vote. So it's the 56 permanent members. So yeah, it was quite an insightful interview that we had, and we also indicated that they are indeed ready, because we know that all the 9 provincial legislatures concluded their sittings yesterday. So we have 9 premiers, 9 speakers from the provincial legislatures. So once that process is completed, it is only then that the NCOP can be constituted.
And of course, Thembinkosi, I think that the viewers will appreciate that difference between the two houses, between the National Assembly and the NCOP. You spoke of 90 members in the NCOP, whereas the National Assembly is constituted of 400 members. And that is one of the differences between the two houses. Of course, the two houses coexist, and they do come together for joint business of the House at certain times. Of course, we are here as a result of the national and provincial elections, and that is why we already have the provincial legislatures that have voted in their premiers and that have constituted their legislatures. With your conversation with Advocate Pindela, I loved how he thoroughly explained the swearing-in process, especially when you did mention that there are there are only 54 members that will be sworn in today in the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces, and that is what viewers can expect. Unlike yesterday, where all 400, we expected that all 400 of the members that were in the chamber in the National Assembly, they were sworn in.
And
it will be different today.
And another difference between the two houses when it comes to constituting them, yes, we'll have the Chief Justice presiding over the election of the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, and from once the chairperson has been elected, then he will preside over the appointment of the deputy chairperson. And now, interestingly, just as you outline, you are outlining those differences, the National Assembly, as you would know, it has a chief whip of the majority party, but in the NCOP, it's a little bit different because the NCOP is an NCOP of the National Council of Provinces. So that's just the conversation that we had, and it's also indicated that they are currently busy with their dry run, preparing the members for this first sitting. We know that some of the members that will be coming in will be new members, completely new to this parliamentary environment. So there are certain things that they need to be taken through so that they know how to maintain, so that the decorum of the House is maintained.
And of course, some of the similarities with the proceedings that we saw yesterday is that the Chief Justice will preside over he presided over, of course, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and the difference, of course, here today is that he'll be presiding over the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. I think it's also important to note to viewers that the other difference is that the NCOP has two deputy chairpersons. One will be a permanent deputy chairperson, and the other is the deputy chairperson who will be on a one-year rotational basis.
Well, Sebo, just as we can hear outside, the parliamentary choir probably also rehearsing for this first sitting, but let us just have a look at what is the role of the National Council of Provinces.
Building our great South African nation together.
The Parliament of the Republic of South Africa consists of two houses, the National Assembly as well as the National Council of Provinces. The National Council of Provinces, or NCOP for short, is constitutionally mandated to ensure that provincial interests are taken into account in the national sphere of government.
The NCOP is uniquely placed to reflect the diversity of our society and to synthesize the experience of those spheres of government charged with the great bulk of the task of implementing the country's national program of fundamental change, close quote.
This is done through participation in the national legislative process and by providing a national forum for consideration of issues affecting provinces. The NCOP also ensures that local government concerns are represented at the highest level. The NCOP consists of 9 provincial delegations nominated by the provincial legislatures and a delegation from the South African Local Government Association, or SALGA for short. Each provincial delegation has 10 members made up of 4 special delegates drawn from the provincial legislature. including the Premier of the province or a person designated by the Premier as head of the delegation. These delegates may change from time to time. In addition to that, there are also 6 permanent delegates. This means every province is equally represented in the NCOP. Similar to its counterpart, the NCOP has office bearers who are responsible for overseeing the duties of the House. Chairperson and 2 deputy chairpersons manage the work of the NCOP and preside over debates, making sure that delegates can speak freely while remaining within the rules. Of the 2 deputy chairpersons, one is a permanent deputy chairperson who is elected for 5 years, while provincial premiers take turns being deputy chairpersons for a year. A provincial whip organizes the work of each provincial delegation. Parties with at least 7 permanent delegates and who do not have members functioning as provincial whips are also entitled to a party whip. The NCOP considers, passes, amends, proposes amendments to, or rejects legislation. It must consider all national bills. The NCOP has oversight of the executive within its role as the representative of the provinces. The NCOP may require a cabinet member, an official in the national government or a provincial government to attend a meeting of the council or a committee of the council. The NCOP also conducts oversight visits to the communities in order to ensure that they get direct information on the needs and challenges of the people. All these efforts to make your future work better.
In the month of June, Parliament joins the nation in commemorating Youth Month, a time to recognize the contributions and aspirations of the youth in our society, a time to reflect on the struggles faced by young people in the past and to celebrate their achievements in shaping the future. Youth Month holds great significance in South Africa as it marks the anniversary of the student uprising in 1976, when young people took to the streets to protest against the oppressive apartheid education system. Their courage and sacrifice have paved the way for a more inclusive and equitable society. Parliament acknowledges the importance of investing in the youth, as they are the future leaders, innovators, and change makers. It is committed to creating an enabling environment for young people to thrive, providing access to quality education, skills development, and economic opportunities. Through various initiatives and legislation, Parliament aims to address the challenges faced by the youth, such as unemployment, inequality, and limited access to resources. It recognizes the need for inclusive policies that empower young people and ensure their active participation in decision-making processes. As we commemorate Youth Month, let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting the youth and working towards a society where every young person can reach their full potential. Together, let us build a brighter future for the youth of South Africa. Parliament, empowering the youth for a better tomorrow.
Welcome back. We are an hour away from the start of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. We have heard earlier from the Secretary to the National Council of Provinces on how the NCOP is constituted and the relationship between provincial legislatures, the council at national level. Of course, all of this stems from the recent national and provincial elections which took place on 29 May 2024.
Of course, a total of 487 seats have been allocated across the 9 provinces. Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal lead with the highest number of seats at 80 each, while the Northern Cape and the Free State have the least with 30 seats each.
Notably, this election saw an increase in diversity with 19 parties represented in the legislatures, up from 12 in 2019. Overall, the ANC lost 6 seats, but remains a significant player. The DA gained 13 seats, and the MK Party, a new force, has emerged in the third place with 58 seats, surpassing the EFF by 4 seats. In Gauteng, the ANC lost 9 seats. The DA gained 2, and the EFF held steady. The MK Party secured 8 seats, Action SA 3, the Patriotic Alliance 2, and both BUSA and Rising Mzansi gained 1 each. In KwaZulu-Natal, the MK Party now leads with 37 seats, while the ANC lost 30. The IFP gained 2 seats, although the EFF lost 6. Notably, the ACDP, Minority Front, and ATM exited the legislature.
Of course, this means that the Northern Cape, the ANC lost 3 seats. The DA lost 1 and the EFF gained 1. The FF Plus retained its seat and the PA made a debut with 3 seats. In the Western Cape, new entrants PA and NCC secured 3 and 1 seat respectively. The DA remains unchanged with 24 seats, while the ANC lost 4, and Patricia de Lille's Good also lost a seat. In Limpopo, the ANC had a strong showing, gaining 10 seats thanks in part to an increased seat allocation from 49 to 64. The EFF and DA also gained seats here. Northwest saw an additional 5 seats compared to 2019, aiding the ANC in gaining 2 seats. The EFF and DA gained 1 seat, while the MK Party and Action SA also made their mark.
And in Mpumalanga, with 21 new seats allocated, the ANC gained 5, the EFF and DA each gained 3, and the MK Party secured 9. Action SA entered with 1 seat, and the Freedom Front Plus held on to its seat. In the Eastern Cape, we saw the ANC leading but losing 1 seat. The DA gained 1, the EFF adding 3 more, and the UDM increasing by 1. The PA and MK Party also entered these legislatures. Finally, in the Free State, the seat count remained the same at 30. The ANC lost 3 seats, the DA gained 1, and the EFF and FF Plus maintained their numbers. ACT and the MK Party entered with 1 seat each. These election cycles clearly reshaped the political landscape across South Africa's provinces, bringing new voices and perspective into the legislative process.
Our Parliament TV spoke to some members of the NCOP to hear their reflections on what it means to them to be a member of Parliament. Let's take a look.
My name is Seiso Joel Mohai. I'm from the centrally located province in South Africa, the Free State, the political and historical heritage of South Africa. You know that the Liberation Movement was founded there, and even the Nationalist Party was founded in that province, and therefore it still represents something not just beautiful, but something that is great. Today it's still a soccer-loving province. I myself am an ardent fan of soccer. I enjoy games. We miss our great team, Bloemfontein Celtics. Hopefully it will be back in the PSL soon, and which makes Bafana Bafana to be something else in the soccer fraternity, not only domestically but also globally. So yeah, that's great. I'm a member of the ANC. I've served in Parliament quite some time. I've served at the various levels of legislative sector, in the provincial legislature, and serve in the National Council of Provinces. And now I'm looking forward to serve again in the National Assembly. So I believe that this will be a great 7th parliamentary administration. Many things has to be realized. Still confident, emerging from the elections, that all of us should serve with our absolute commitment the needs of our people.
I'm Manny Brits from Jeffreys Bay down in the Eastern Cape, and I represent the Democratic Alliance. I look forward to the 7th Parliament, where we are in an initial phase where we are going to make history. And I'm looking forward to represent the people of the Eastern Cape in the NCOP.
My name is Paul Swart. I come from a small little town called Elim. It's a Moravian mission station belonging to the Moravian Church in South Africa. And it's actually, it's the southernmost town. It's part of the southernmost municipality on the African continent. And now for the past 8 years, I was the executive mayor of Cape Agulhas municipality. I was a ward councillor in Ward 5 in Struisbaai, in Agulhas, and that is the southernmost towns on the continent of this beautiful continent, South Africa. I really want to see that entrepreneurs are being empowered in this country, because they are the job creators. We need people who can create jobs. Yeah, that is my passion. Economic development, empowerment of entrepreneurs, and also the challenge in South Africa is the social economic challenges and the illness in our communities. Youth development, children at school level, substance abuse, and that is my passion that I really want to embrace, and that is the challenge that I really want to show my in on this level and platform where I'm going to represent my province and the country in Parliament.
Hello everybody, my name is Ofentse Mokai, all the way from Galeshewe in Kimberley in the Northern Cape. I'm here to represent the province in the 7th Parliament in the National Council of Provinces, NCOP. I'm a young leader, I'm an activist from the dusty streets of Galeshewe. My interest here is just to fight for the people of the Northern Cape, to be that voice for the people of the Northern Cape. As you know, the NCOP is one of the houses of Parliament where provincial interests are being expressed, where provincial interests are being brought to the national stage. Thank you very much.
My name is Moleboheng Sharon Letlape. I am from Potsaneng village in Rustenburg, Ward 45 in the Northwest Province. I like working outside of work, basically, spending time with young people on the streets of different provinces and communities, doing community work. My interest in the 7th Parliament is basically to make sure that the young people finally get voices. The first thing is would like an attainment of free education, which is a fight that young people have already taken for the longest time. We want young people to get jobs. We want young people to get land. We want young people to be in business and to get the necessary support that they want. And those are some of the things that we will be fighting for. I have interest particularly in the economic freedom fights, is advancing these issues in Parliament, and that ultimately at the end of the 7th Parliament I'll be part of the history of attainment of these issues that have got the best interest of young people. Yeah.
Welcome back, and you are still watching the live broadcast of Parliament TV. It is indeed the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces, and we are coming to you live from the Cape Town International Convention Center. Tsepo, today, as you can hear the mood outside, the choir singing, there's a lot of people walking around also preparing for this sitting at 10 o'clock. So it's going to be another busy day in the City ICC today.
Definitely, but hopefully not as long as we had yesterday with the first sitting of the National Assembly. Of course, we sat throughout until the wee hours of this morning. Of course, it was a long process because of the elections that happened in the chamber. This was the election for the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, and of course, the President of the Republic, with those nominations, 2 nominations in fact, for each of those office bearers, and that is why we had those long processions. And of course, South Africans sat and they waited for those results throughout.
And now that the National Assembly has been constituted, I think what will come up next will be the inauguration of the President, which is likely to take place on Wednesday next week in Pretoria. So once that is done, then the President will then be able to appoint his executive, who will then enable the National Assembly to also start with its work of establishing the portfolio committees. Remember that the portfolio committees are aligned to how the executive is constituted, because for each department there would be a portfolio committee. If you have a department of communications and digital technologies, we would have a portfolio committee on communication and digital technologies, and so on and so on. So yesterday was a big event. We came out with the speaker, the deputy speaker, and the president of the country, and it was quite interesting to see and watch that democracy at play.
Of course, Ngosi, now that you mentioned that after the inauguration of the president, obviously he will have this huge task of his appointing members of his cabinet. I think then it's important to remind viewers that the Chief Justice has a role to play in these processions. Firstly, he was here yesterday for the first sitting of the National Assembly, and now he will be presiding over the proceedings of the NCOP, the first sitting of the NCOP. I think then it's important to remind viewers of the three arms of state, right? Well, we have the judiciary, that is the courts, and we have the legislature, which is parliament, that makes and amends laws. And of course, we have the executive, which is the president, and of course he will then share that responsibility with the cabinet that he is about to appoint.
And some of the new members of the NCOP, and it's important, just like we highlighted yesterday, the importance of having youth participation and youth involvement. Especially tomorrow, it's a youth day, it's a big day in South Africa. We know what happened in 1976. Yes. We don't need to be reminded of that. So tomorrow, it is for the youth to celebrate. I think that this achievement, they would also be celebrating it, because this is a great achievement for the South African democracy.
And of course, with the inclusion of the youth within the National Assembly, within the NCOP, this means that we can all expect fresh ideas, innovative creations to ensure that we combat all the challenges that we have and we're facing as a country. Of course, we were talking about how dependent and how great it is that we have all these, the youth and all these fresh ideas that will come about from the youth, and also combined with the wisdom that the old MPs have. Of course, that is important in progressing the future and empowering everybody, especially the youth, since you mentioned that we are celebrating Youth Day tomorrow.
And I think you've spoken to a number of people, so let's have a look to what some of the members of parliament and the South African public had to say.
My name is Igor Skirpiko. I'm from Freestone. Working for a dream since I was high school. I've always wanted to serve my country, and now I've been given this opportunity. Professionally, to me, means that we are on a verge of change in South Africa, and to be part of that change gives me a sense of pride, and to know that we are now going on to the 7th administration, which is going to be a change from the first administration. And then when I'm not here, I like to be at my house. I like jogging. I go into the garden. My garden is my pride. I watch my garden like I watch my tummy. It must always be green and always be flat. So yes, I love gardening, and that keeps the stress away and it helps me clear my mind when I'm focusing on Rescue South Africa.
Hi South Africa, my name is Dennis Ryder. I'm a Democratic Alliance member in the National Council of Provinces, representing the Gauteng province. It's my second term in the NCOP, so I'm returning to the NCOP to finish the work that I started off 5 years ago when I first got sworn in to the National Council of Provinces in 2019. I'm looking forward to spending my time in the NCOP representing the province, doing what I can to further the provincial issues, specifically on behalf of the Gauteng people, and making sure that I bring people's issues into Parliament space and make sure that we're driving the provincial agenda into Parliament, making sure that it becomes relevant to South Africans. I live in the south of Gauteng. I live on a plot, on a small holding in a town called Walkerville. I have a lovely family, my wife and 2 boys with me there. We are all animal lovers. We have lots of animals with us. I enjoy riding horses. I used to play polo cross. Don't play anymore. But yeah, I still enjoy the horses and the farm lifestyle. Looking forward to serving all South Africans on behalf of my party, on behalf of my province, and on behalf of my neighbours. Being a member of the National Council of Provinces and a member of Parliament is massively important to me. I've always been involved in politics from a young age. When I first stood up to a bully at school when I was about 13 years old. Ever since then, I've made sure that my voice is always heard. I've always felt that if you want to change something, you've got to get involved and fix it yourself. Get up there and make sure that you participate. That's why I'm here in Parliament. It means so much to me to have gone through the process of being a human being, a citizen, being part of civil society, moving into local government, where I served in the Midvaal local municipality, and then finally coming here to Parliament, where I can make my voice heard on behalf of the people around me and the people that I represent. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sanbonani, South Africa. I'm from the ANC, Gauteng Provincial Legislature. I'm the first-time member la NCOP. I'm an Anganyutiski. I'm a soccer fan. I'm a Orlando Pirates person. Abona la nangizele njeni namachita sekas la nihlele makhoneni. Ngizo representa nina la ningabone sigqoka amasud. We're here for you so that nani nazi ukuthi your voice is here. So there are people who are here for you. Noma singawagqoka amasud sababahle mara sikhohlwanga la sibuya khona. Just in short, yabona mina personally ukuthi what does it mean for me to be here? It's a very important thing for me because I understand they believe that people who come to the parliament don't represent them. They don't have a say. I'm here to tell you that I'm very passionate about you, Amachita Sekasi. I'm very passionate about inhleli makhonini niyazama every day. Nivuka ekuseni nijampa ama-account. Angifuni ukutshela ukuthi sesikhona ke. So represent abafethu will make sure that your voices are heard. And one thing that makes me happy about the NCOP is that you move from province to province, unlike in the legislature where you just move from one region to the other. So wherever you are, so fika kaslako, so fika kuwe, so funa ukwazi ukuthi wena ufila kanjani. And what is it that you want to see in the NCOP? And lastly, bafethu, you know, I'm passionate about youth development. I'm passionate about seeing young people progressing and achieving their dreams. At some stage, Name, I was under the category youth, and I fought when I was still a young person because I didn't want to be told who must lead me. I was at the trenches of making sure that the right person is the one that is leading. Ngiyacela nani phumani emakhoneni bafethu joinani struggle for the children of your children, the children of their children, because mina nawe vele sisebenzile ithuna. So akalani bafethu sijoine lento le silungise country. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
You are still watching Parliament TV as we build up to the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. We're talking about the seat allocations in the province. Well, yesterday, all 9 provinces held their first sittings and elected their office bearers, the Speaker and Deputy Speakers of each provincial legislatures, as well as the premiers. And with those elections, we've seen some new faces coming in and some others not coming back, but I'm sure you'll be detailing who's who for us.
Yes. Of course, Seminkosi, I can tell you the speakers and the premiers in each province. For Gauteng province, we have Ntate Panyaza Lesufi, who is the premier, and Ntate Audrey Masutre, who was elected as the speaker. In the Free State, we have Mema Queen Letua Makai, who was elected as the premier, and for speaker, we have Mezanele Sifuba. Of course, in Mpumalanga, we have Ntate Mandla Ndlovu, who is the premier of the Mpumalanga province, and Me Lindi Masina, who was elected as the speaker of the provincial legislature in Mpumalanga. For Limpopo, we have Dr. Popi Ramatuba, who is the premier, and Nemakoma Mahrubej, who is the speaker of that legislature. In the Northern Cape, we have Dr. Zamani Song, who is the premier, and Ms. Nureen Cluster, who is the speaker of that legislature. Northwest, we've seen Tate Lazarus Mukhosi, who is the premier, and Ne Disebo Mohono, who is the speaker. In the Eastern Cape, Dr. Oscar Mabuyane coming back. He is the Premier of the Eastern Cape, and we have Helen Sauce-August, who is the Speaker. Western Cape, we see Mr. Alan Winde as the Premier and Mr. Dalian Mitchell as the Speaker. And finally, with KwaZulu-Natal, which we had a delay yesterday, it was quite a light moment even in the National Assembly. We have Dr. Tami Ntuli, who is the Premier, and Menon Tobeko Boyce, who has been re-elected as the Speaker of KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. I remember that light moment when a member asked the newly elected Speaker of the National Assembly, won't you please just announce the results of KwaZulu-Natal?
And I guess the reason because this member you're speaking of was the president of the IFP, Mr. Velonkosi Hlabisa, and I think at the time news had just came in, probably news had just came in to say that Mr. Mandla Ndlovu has been elected, I beg a pardon, if I can just look at KZN, and say Mr. Tami Ntuli of the IFP has been elected to the Premier. So as we see in KZN, we have a new Premier from a new political party. Previously we had Mayor Nomsa Ncube Dube, who's now no longer the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. We have a new Premier, Mr. Tami Ntuli, from a new party. And also, if we're looking at Gauteng province, it's a return. Phanyazane Sophie was previously a previous administration. He was a minister, he was a Premier in Gauteng. So we're hoping that there will be continuity because he'll be abreast to the challenges that are confronting his province. That also applies to the Free State. We see Mayor McQueen Litsoha Matai taking over from Mr. Mxolisi Dukwana, a woman replacing a man, which is good.
Yes.
And then we also look at Mpumalanga. We know there we had Mayor Refilwe Mutsweni, Sipane, and now we have the new Premier, Mr. Mandla Ndlovu.
Of course, Temikosi, it's important that we remind viewers that each province has a legislature. And of course, the provincial legislatures are responsible for passing the laws for its province as defined in the Constitution. Furthermore, these laws are only effective for the particular province. Parliament may intervene and change these laws if they undermine national security, economic unity, national standards, or the interests of another province.
And to continue, it's about in Limpopo. Mr. Stanley Mathabatha is no longer the Premier. We have a new Premier, Dr. Poppy Ramathuba. I'm sure many of our viewers would have seen her on the social media platform. She loves showing off her work.
Yes.
And from my side, she had been doing very well as a MEC for Health because she's formerly MEC of Health. And then in Northern Cape, we have a returning Premier, Dr. Zamani Saul, who will be serving his second term. In the Northwest Province, we have Mr. Lazarus Mukhoshi, as you had indicated. And Eastern Cape, we have another returning Premier serving his second term, Dr. Oscar Mabuyane, as well as in the Western Cape, because we know Mr. Winde served previously as the Premier, and now he's serving his second term. But I'm sure we'll be seeing some of these premiers and speakers in attendance at the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces, which will commence at 10 a.m. Viewers, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll bring you some more of the views from the members of Parliament and the general South African public.
In the month of June, Parliament joins the nation in commemorating Youth Month, a time to recognize the contributions and aspirations of the youth in our society, a time to reflect on the struggles faced by young people in the past and to celebrate their achievements in shaping the future. Youth Month holds great significance in South Africa as it marks the anniversary of the student uprising in 1976, when young people took to the streets to protest against the oppressive apartheid education system. Their courage and sacrifice have paved the way for a more inclusive and equitable society. Parliament acknowledges the importance of investing in the youth, as they are the future leaders, innovators, and change makers. It is committed to creating an enabling environment for young people to thrive, providing access to quality education, skills development, and economic opportunities. Through various initiatives and legislation, Parliament aims to address the challenges faced by the youth, such as unemployment, inequality, and limited access to resources. It recognizes the need for inclusive policies that empower young people and ensure their active participation in decision-making processes. As we commemorate Youth Month, let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting the youth and working towards a society where every young person can reach their full potential. Together, let us build a brighter future for the youth of South Africa. Parliament, empowering the youth for a better tomorrow.
What is the legislature? Welcome to the Civics Academy Governance Series. In these videos, we explore different aspects of democratic governance and the concept of the separation of powers as one of the key features of democracy. In this video, we look at the legislative branch of government, its responsibility and tasks. Democracies are characterized by the separation of functions and powers between the three branches of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Each branch checks the power of the other two so that there is a balance of power between them. The legislature is responsible for passing laws and for holding the executive branch of government accountable. The legislative authority in the national sphere of government is vested in Parliament, which is the supreme legislative power in the country. At provincial level, the legislature is represented by the provincial legislatures, and in the local sphere by the municipal councils. In this video, we will focus on the national level and outline what Parliament is and what it does, in line with Chapter 4 of our Constitution. The South African Parliament is situated in Cape Town. It is a place where our elected representatives meet and carry out their work. Our Parliament is bicameral. That means that we have two houses of Parliament, known as the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. The National Assembly is made up of 400 representatives from different political parties, called Members of Parliament, or MPs. South Africans indirectly elect MPs every 5 years by casting votes for the party of their choice. Seats are then allocated to each party based on the number of votes the party received using the proportional representation system. Each party compiles lists of candidates, and MPs are allocated from this list in the order the names are listed. Half of the 400 MPs are selected from national party lists, and the other half from provincial lists. A party needs to obtain about 45,000 votes for every MP representing it in the National Assembly. This system allows for smaller parties and therefore minority interests to be represented in our legislature. Soon after the national election, the Chief Justice, who is the head of the judiciary, swears in the members of the National Assembly. We explain the role and functions of MPs and political parties, as well as different aspects of elections in the Civics Academy election series. The second House of Parliament is the National Council of Provinces. It came into existence in 1997 and is the body that represents provincial interests at the national level of the legislature. The National Council of Provinces has 90 members. Each of the 9 provinces nominates 10 delegates to this council. The delegation usually consists of the Premier, 3 other temporary delegates who can change from time to time, and 6 permanent delegates nominated for the full term of Parliament. The party representation in the delegations must proportionally reflect the party representation in the provincial legislatures. Now that we know what Parliament is, let's talk about what Parliament does. Each house has its own distinct role and functions, as set out in the Constitution. However, there are also many instances when the two houses act together to conduct joint business. To simplify, we are referring to both houses of Parliament here. They have 4 main functions or areas of jurisdiction. These are: 1. The consideration, amendment, and passing of draft laws, called bills. Bills are usually introduced by the executive, but they can also be introduced by MPs and are then discussed in parliamentary committees, which may amend provisions and approve them before both houses of Parliament vote on whether to pass them. Parliament must ensure that all bills conform to the provisions of the Constitution before being passed. Otherwise, a High Court can declare the law or parts of it unconstitutional and invalid. If this is confirmed by the Constitutional Court, the law has no force and effect, as if it was never passed. Parliament may also amend the Constitution with a 2/3 majority of votes. Furthermore, the Constitution requires Parliament to allow members of the public to participate in lawmaking processes through written submissions or by giving testimony before parliamentary committees. 2. The election of the President. At its first sitting after the election, the National Assembly elects the President from among its members. The leader of the political party that wins the majority of the seats in the National Assembly is nominated and elected as President. Once elected President, he or she becomes the head of the executive and stops being a member of Parliament. 3. Oversight of the executive. Parliament approves the budgets of government departments and has the duty to scrutinize and oversee the work of the executive and to hold cabinet ministers accountable. The various committees of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces can call cabinet ministers to appear before them to explain their work and to answer questions about their work. In this way, the committees of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces ensure that the members of cabinet do their job properly. The President and his or her cabinet are also required to answer questions in Parliament and to defend their budget every year before the National Assembly. 4. Parliament provides a national forum for consideration of important issues. To achieve this goal, political parties table motions that must be debated and voted on. The National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces carry out their duties in different ways. Each house meets in its own plenary session to pass legislation and debate issues. In extraordinary circumstances, the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces can meet in joint sittings to debate important issues of the day or to listen to important speeches. Beyond these regularly scheduled plenary sessions, the President may at any time summon Parliament for an extraordinary sitting. Parliamentary work is done in a number of different committees, consisting of smaller groups of members. Committees enable members of Parliament to develop expertise and in-depth knowledge of the specific committee's area of responsibility, for example, health, education, or foreign policy. Each house has its own committees. Committees are, in general, proportionally representative of the parties in Parliament and headed by a chairperson. They are required to report regularly on their activities and to make recommendations to their house for debate and decision. There are a number of joint committees of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. For example, the Annual Constitutional Review Committee. Committee meetings are generally open to the public. Summary. The legislature is the representative of the people of South Africa. The 400 plus 90 representatives are given their mandates through regular elections and vote on issues of national importance in Parliament. Parliament is responsible for passing laws and for holding the executive branch of government accountable. The power of Parliament is limited by the Constitution. The judiciary checks the exercise of power by the legislature. Through its work, Parliament is tasked to make sure that the interests of the people of South Africa are represented in all their diversity.
Welcome back to Parliament TV, live at City ICC, where preparations are underway for the first sitting of the NCOP. And of course, it's very important to highlight that this is Youth Month, and of course, June marks the commemoration of Youth Month, reflecting on the sacrifices and achievements of the youth of 1976. Tomorrow, of course, is the 16th of June, and this is Youth Day. And of course, I love the fact that there are new faces, and the youth will be represented in the two houses of Parliament, of course, making the youth of South Africa part of decision-making processes.
Definitely, Tsepo, you would have heard earlier mentioned the importance of youth representation within the legislative framework. So yesterday we saw in the National Assembly quite a number of young people being sworn in as MPs. The one most important thing, we hope that as young people, they will play their role in the National Assembly, will hear their voice, will be able to hear, will see some changes coming in through the introduction of these youngsters.
Of course, we are still anticipating the processions of the day for today, and the sitting is expected to start at 10 a.m. We will be crossing to the chamber once those proceedings get underway. In the meantime, the council will be electing their presiding officers during the plenary today after the delegates are sworn in.
And just to remind the viewers that of the process that will be followed today, not different from yesterday's process, where the Chief Justice will preside over the first sitting and through the election of the chairperson. And once the chairperson has been elected, then he will be invited to take over the seat and will then preside over the election of the deputy chairperson as well as the chief whip of the National Council of Provinces. So that is the process that we're likely to see unfold today.
Of course, then now we turn to the role of the presiding officers in the council. Now, in terms of the constitution, the NCOP must elect a chairperson and 2 deputy chairpersons from among the delegates. The chairperson and one of the deputy chairpersons are elected among the permanent delegates for 5 years unless their terms of as delegates expire earlier. The other deputy chairperson is elected for a term of 1 year on a rotational basis and must be succeeded by a delegate from another province so that every province is represented in turn.
And the Chief Justice again plays a pivotal role in the first sitting and must preside over the election of the chairperson but designate another judge to do so. The chairperson will then preside over the election of the deputy chairpersons. As you have mentioned, that the NCOP has 2 deputy chairpersons, one elected on a 1-year rotational basis and the other one elected for a period of 5 years. So what are the functions of the chairperson of the council, of the chairperson? The chairperson of the council must exercise the powers and perform the functions of the office of the chairperson after consulting the deputy chairpersons, other presiding officers, the delegation heads, the whips, and any relevant committee wherever the rules of the National Council or the proper function of the National Council of Provinces requires such consultation. The chairperson of the NCOP then may authorize a deputy chairperson or a committee or a member to exercise a power or perform a function vested in terms of the rules of the National Council of Provinces in the chairperson. And the chairperson's mandate is twofold. It is constitutional and institutional. It is at the NCOP and parliamentary levels. In both situations, it involves interacting with the following sectors of the global community: the national, regional, continental, and international.
Of course, Temikosi, I think that viewers can appreciate the role of the provincial legislature, because this means that they are much closer to issues of service delivery, unemployment, and obviously can regulate the laws that are applicable to those specific provinces. And of course, these issues can then be raised on a national level, because now they are in the National Council of Provinces. And of course, carrying on from what you've been talking about the functions of these office bearers, the functions of the deputy chairperson, chairpersons, of course, because there are 2 in this instance, is to assist the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces in providing strategic leadership to the NCOP, including chairing joint committees of Parliament. Therefore, the deputy chairperson performs any of the functions of the chairperson if the chairperson, for whatever reason, is unable to. This includes representing Parliament in international multilateral forums and the NCOP in international bilateral forums. Of course, Temikosi, it's important to note that this is very similar to the office bearers of the National Assembly that we were talking about just yesterday.
Yeah, as you have just outlined, their roles are quite similar, the role of the Deputy Speaker and the role of the Deputy Chairperson. And even in their work, they work a lot. They work together quite a lot. because, as we have just said, they have these similar roles as the Deputy Speaker and one as the Deputy Chairperson.
Now, viewers have to note that from time to time, the Deputy Chairperson in her official capacity is expected to undertake certain projects on behalf of the President or the institution.
Just like the National Assembly, the presiding officers provide political leadership and strategic direction to the House. They must practice impartiality at all times in pursuance of these duties. The impartiality of the presiding officers is one of the prime values that integrity of the South African Parliament is measured in terms of. They have the responsibility of preserving parliamentary integrity, maintaining the decorum of the House, the chairperson serving as the executive authority for the House, ensuring the smooth running of the House business and its committees, ensuring the development and management of the House program, impartially presiding over House meetings and maintaining order, and chairing strategic parliamentary committees. And the chairperson, together with the Speaker of the National Assembly, jointly presides over joint sittings of Parliament. The chairperson and the Speaker jointly preside over, provide political leadership to, and ensure the development of the annual Joint Parliamentary Program Framework for the following structures: the Joint Programming Committee, the Joint Rules Committee, the Parliamentary Oversight Authority, the Executive Committee, the Presiding Officers Forum, Budget Committee, Forum for the Legislative Sector Forum of the Legislative Sector called the Speakers Forum. Now the members of the National Council of Provinces are arriving to attend the first sitting. When we come back, we'll be able to see visuals of the chamber as members assemble. But for now, let's look at what is an MP.
What is an MP? Welcome to the Civics Academy Election Series. In these videos, we explore different aspects of elections and why they are a central feature of democracy. In this video, we look at the role and functions of elected representatives who represent us in Parliament. In a democracy, voters elect members of Parliament, called MPs, to represent their interests. MPs have only temporary mandates and are accountable to voters. Voters do not have to re-elect them and the parties they might belong to if they do not deliver on their promises. Most MPs belong to a political party and represent their party in Parliament. MPs that do not belong to a political party and are elected as individuals in their own right are called independents. The roles and functions of MPs. MPs are primarily responsible for ensuring that the work of Parliament is done. They should ensure that Parliament provides a forum for debating important national issues, passing laws, and holding the executive branch of government accountable. In detail, MPs have many responsibilities. Legislation. MPs debate, pass, or reject laws that are drafted by the executive branch of government. Occasionally, MPs also draft their own laws called private members' bills. Their key role is to ensure that the laws passed by Parliament are in line with the country's constitution and will improve the lives of citizens. MPs play an important representative role by providing a link between government and the people. MPs are tasked with consulting citizens and representing their views in Parliament. However, the way that an MP represents people's views depends on the type of electoral system in a country. In South Africa, we have a proportional representation, or PR system, in which voters vote for a political party and not for an individual MP. That means, in reality, many MPs represent the interests of their political parties first and foremost. The party chooses which of their party representatives will sit as MPs in Parliament. MPs are then accountable to their parties. In this type of system, it is difficult for MPs to consult or represent a particular group or area of people or constituency. To try to solve this dilemma, many countries with PR systems like South Africa have introduced constituency work for their MPs. We explain the role and function of political parties in more detail in our video, What are Political Parties? Constituency work. South African MPs have been allocated a constituency area or town by their political parties. MPs are required to do constituency work during specific times of the year. During these constituency periods, MPs have a duty to be available to the public, help solve problems, and report back to their constituents on what is happening in Parliament. Oversight and accountability. MPs also scrutinize and oversee the work of the executive and hold cabinet ministers and the president accountable. This includes regular questions which these executive members must respond to in Parliament. MPs also sit in parliamentary committees which oversee the work and spending of government departments. Debates. MPs participate in parliamentary debates, which are usually made public through the media. This helps to inform and instruct citizens about government policy and important current political issues. South Africa's MPs. South Africa has 3 types of elected representatives. Firstly, MPs at the national level sit in the National Parliament, which has 2 houses or chambers: the National Assembly, which represents the entire country, and the National Council of Provinces, which represents the interests of the provinces. There are 400 MPs in the National Assembly and 90 MPs in the National Council of Provinces. We explain what Parliament is in more detail in our video, What is the Legislature? Secondly, each province also has its own assembly, called a provincial legislature, with varying numbers of members called MPLs, depending on the population of the province. Thirdly, South Africa also has representatives at the local level of government, called councillors, forming municipal councils. We explain the types and functions of councillors in more detail in the Civics Academy Local Government series. All MPs are in powerful positions and can influence important laws and decisions that affect millions of people. There may be times when their personal or business interests conflict with their ability to look after the public interest. Therefore, all elected MPs, MPLs, and councillors must record their personal business and outside interests in a public register so that citizens can monitor any unethical or corrupt behavior. Summary. MPs are elected representatives, must act in the public interest, and are accountable to the citizens. You can find out who your party MP is in your area and contact them about issues that affect you. Remember that you must contact parliamentary MPs for national issues, MPLs for provincial issues, and your local councillor for concerns that relate to your immediate area.
Welcome back to Parliament TV live coverage of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. We are a few minutes away, literally about 2 minutes away from the sitting, from the start of the sitting. As you can see, the members of the National Council of Provinces seated and ready for the House proceedings. As you would have seen yesterday, there was quite a number of members, 400, just less than 400 from that house, but today you'll see that the number is fewer. We had of course indicated that the NCOP has 90 members.
And of course, Teminkosi, viewers can expect the following proceedings in the first sitting of the NCOP. The Chief Justice will open the session and preside over the swearing-in of all permanent delegates appointed by their respective provinces. Of course, members will be called in groups of 10 and provided with a form containing the wording of the oath or affirmation in the official language of their choice. Each member will read the wording out loud during the swearing-in ceremony.
And as you can see there on the screen, we'll be starting at any moment from now as we're about to hit 10 o'clock. But you can see on your screen there's the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lusufi, and earlier on, and there's Mr. Zamani Soul of the Northern Cape, and earlier on we would have seen Mr. Oscar Mabuyane and Dr. Popi Ramatuba of Limpopo. So we've got quite familiar faces in the House, although many of them might be new to the National Council of Provinces. There's a representative of SALCA. We had indicated that SALCA sends 10 members to the National Council of Provinces.
Yes. And of course, Teminkosi, it's important to note how gorgeous the chamber is looking. It's beautifully dressed. And of course, members are engaging with one another, anticipating the proceedings of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces.
And you have just seen that the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, seated next to Ms. Nomvula Mukonyane, the First Deputy Secretary. And there's Mr. Panyaza Lusufi, as I have indicated, Premier of Gauteng Province. And I can tell you now, the viewers shouldn't be expecting to see Ms. Sylvia Lucas, the former Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, in that sitting, as she was sworn in as a member of the National Assembly yesterday. So there is no way that a member of Parliament can be a member of both houses. It's either you're a member of the National Assembly or you're a member of the National Council of Provinces.
And of course, Temikos, it's important to note that similarly to what happened in the National Assembly yesterday, when there were more than one nominations for an office bearer position, that all necessary voting infrastructures have been meticulously prepared to ensure a smooth and secure election process should the need arise.
And the bell is ringing, which is an indication that the House will be starting at any time. But the House can only start when you see the Chief Justice occupying that seat and presiding over the proceedings of today. And there's Dr. Popi Ramathupa on your screen chatting to a colleague. And you can see some few seats that have not yet been occupied. And yes, as I've indicated earlier, we have the SG, Secretary General of the African National Congress. We have the First Deputy Secretary, Ms. Nomvula Mukonyane, and many others. And as you can see right there, it's a diverse group of members of Parliament.
A lot of interaction, a lot of talking there, and members are ready. They have
and a lot of cell phones.
Yes, of course. Content is a must. Of course, members are interacting with one another, and obviously in anticipation of the first sitting of the NCOP. And I think with the Chief Justice having to preside over these proceedings, it's important to further note the role that he plays as the judiciary in presiding over the proceedings of the legislature. And there we can see the sort of independency on these separate arms of state.
And like I said, what we can expect from today, as soon as the Chief Justice takes the seat, then we'll outline the rules, and then we'll then move into the nomination of a chairperson candidate, which he will preside over. And once the chairperson has been elected, the chairperson will then take the seat, and it is then that the chairperson will preside over the election of the deputy chairpersons. Because just to remind our viewers again, we have a chairperson, we have a deputy chairperson, and we have a second deputy chairperson. However, the second deputy chairperson is only appointed for a year on rotational basis, although whereas the deputy chairperson serves for a period of 5 years.
Viewers should note that we are here as a result of the national and provincial elections that happened on the 29th of May, when South Africans went out and cast their vote. This is the result of that vote, and this is the result of their voice. And these are their representatives within the National Council of Provinces.
And Advocate Pindela earlier indicated that once this House has been constituted, it is then that members will then attend orientation programs, induction, on the work of the institution, on the work of Parliament. Members will be taught the rules, how to conduct oversight. There's so much that will be happening immediately after these two houses have been constituted. We expect that at least by July we'll then see that Parliament beginning its work for the 7th administration.
Of course, it's important to say that the National Council of Provinces is one of the two houses of Parliament of South Africa, established to ensure that provincial interests are represented at the national level. And that is why we mentioned that I think viewers will appreciate the fact that the provincial legislatures are much closer to the people of South Africa and to the people in their provinces specifically, and the challenges that they face there. Of course, the NCOP was created following the first democratic elections in South Africa in 1994, replacing the former Senate, the Senate which was the upper house of Parliament under the apartheid regime. Of course, unlike the Senate, which primarily functioned as a reviewing body, the NCOP was designed to be more participatory and representative of provincial interests.
And just to remind our viewers at home on who are the elected provincials, premiers, and who are the premiers of the provinces and the speakers of the legislatures, we know that in Gauteng province, it's just been on your screen, we have Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, who's been elected as a premier from the ANC, and we have the speaker, Ms. Audrey Musopio. I hope I'm saying it right, Sevo, the speaker of the Gauteng legislature.
The speaker of the Gauteng legislature is Mtate Audrey Musopio. That is the speaker of the provincial legislature.
Oh yes, and you can see on your screen there's the former deputy chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, and just as I said yesterday, she was sworn in as a member of the National Assembly. And moving on to Free State, we have Mayor Queen Litsuha Mataye, who is now the new premier of the Free State, and we have Ms. Zanele Sifuba as the speaker of the province. And moving into Mpumalanga, we have Mr. Mandla Ndlovu, who is now the premier of Mpumalanga, and we have Lindy Masina as the speaker. And I don't know how many times I've mentioned the Premier of Limpopo, Dr. Popi Ramatuba, with the speaker there being Makwana Makuru Peche, and in the Northern Cape we have a returning Premier, Dr. Zamani Soul, and Ms. Noreen Cluster as the Speaker of the Provincial Legislature. And in Northwest we have Mr. Lazarus Mukhosi as the Premier, and we have Delbo Muhono as the Speaker of the Northwest Provincial Legislature. And moving on to the Eastern Cape, we have Mr. Oscar Mabuyane, but we can continue with this later on. For now, we'll have to go to the House as the Chief Justice will be ushered in.
Members are standing up, and there is the Chief Justice. Let's take you to the chamber.
You can see the procession, the Chief Justice, followed by the Secretary to Parliament, Mr. Kolile George. Then behind him is Advocate Pindela, the Secretary to the National Council of Provinces, who is followed by some of the procedural officers of that house.
I will now request the rendition of the national anthem by the parliamentary choir. I will now request the religious leaders to bless the House. You may be seated. The religious leaders who will bless the House, and each one will take no more than 1.5 minutes, are the following, and they will come in this order. Dr. Bishop Templeton Mbegwa from the Pentecostal Church, Mr. Kitibai Panja from the Hindu Faith, Reverend Rodney Whiteman from the Western Cape Provincial Council of Churches. Yeah, that is the last one. Thank you. 1.5 minutes each.
Let us all stand and close our eyes and pray together. Heavenly Father, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we come before your throne this morning. We just want to say thank you for our country. Thank you for this parliament. We dedicate this house unto you. We trust that, Almighty God, all the proceedings, every utterance, every discussion will be from you. Father God, we are here to bless the 7th Parliament, the first sitting of this House. Father God, we bless the Chief Justice who's going to chair the proceedings. Father God, and the elections and those that will be elected, we dedicate them unto you in advance. Each and every political leader that is in this House, Father God, we challenge them to call upon your name so that you can answer and honor them. Through these leaders, South Africa will be blessed. Without them acknowledging that you are the sovereign God, you are the true omnipotent, you are the true omniscient, you are the true omnipresent. We dedicate, Lord, South Africa and the people of South Africa, wherever in each corner, we bless them in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Before the next spiritual leader, I'm told that there are 2 further spiritual leaders who have been added, and they are Sakwit Njobe, African Traditional, and Sheikh Riyad Fatah, Muslim Judicial Council.
we continue our prayers. O God of the bright sky and of the simmering dark, shine your holy presence on our nation and our leaders. Our nation has walked for a time in the light of democracy and hope of a better life. But some are still plagued by the darkness of poverty, crime infestation, and lack of proper housing and health service, and other social dynamics. The future for many young people looks dim. May all who are called to govern give us credible leadership that is people-focused and instill through servant leadership confidence in our citizens that they will be heard, that their vote will be respected, and that our democracy will improve the quality of life, free the potential of each citizen to be navigated to fields of employment and development, and that South Africa will truly become united and transformatively democratic. May the chambers of governance be rooms of critical debating, vigorous discussion, and despite disagreement, find consensus for the common good. In the name of Jesus, I pray, who came to restore life and creation. Amen.
Om Bhuvah Swah Tat Savito Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Sam Gacchadvam Sam Vadatvam Sam Vo Manan Se Janatam Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate. Let all assemble together, let all speak together, let all minds be in harmony. The shining ones of ancient times all proceed by this worship. The place is common, these thoughts are common, so let our hearts be shared as well. Let all thoughts, all minds, and all hearts be united so that all may enjoy peace and contentment. O Almighty Parameshwar, God, Malik, may you grant your all kind of blessing to this very beautiful rainbow country, South Africa. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhave. Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. Let truth, love, and compassion, peace, non-violence be always here and in the whole world. Thank you. Satya, Prem, Karuna.
Masicama kusheni. Ndiyacama gusha kwizihlelo zomzonsundu ngokubanzi. Ndiyacama gusha kumathamba amhlophe alela ukuthula. Ndicama gusha kuni ngokusiphahla ndisizokufika kwesi sakhiwo esiza kubumba urhulumente wamaphondo. Shukumani manyango omzonsundu kuba namhlanje isizwe similisela isikhokhelo esitsha sephondo samaphondo. Buyani emiqolombeni, emaweni, emilanjeni, engetheni, naselogcwabeni nizokunika umkhomba ndlela. Thobani intsikelelo nobulumko khona ukuze ilizwe liqingqe libheke phambili. Ndiyacama gusha ndinqula ndisithi mabubhange ubumnyama kube chosi kube hele cama kwini.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم أصلح لنا في ديننا الذي وعصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا في دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا في آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا. O God Almighty, improve for us our religion, which is our protection. Improve our world, which is our livelihood. And improve our year after, which is our return. اللهم اجعل هذا البلد آمنا مطمئنا وارزق أهله من الثمرات. اللهم اجعل هذا البلد آمنا مطمئنا سخاء رخاء. O God Almighty, make our country safe and reassured and provide its people with the fruits. O God, make this country safe and reassured with generosity and prosperity. اللهم من أراد بنا شرا فأشغله في نفسه ورد كيده في نحره. اللهم لا تؤاخذنا بما فعل السفهاء منا. O God, whoever intends evil against us, distract them within themselves and turn their plot away. O God, do not hold us accountable for what the foolish amongst us did in the past. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Our Lord, give us good in this world and good in the year after, and protect us from the torment of the fire. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Thank you very much. This meeting is convened in terms of Section 64, subsection 4 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Permanent delegates will be requested to swear or affirm faithfulness to the Republic of South Africa and obedience to the Constitution in terms of Section 62, subsection 6 of the Constitution. We will now proceed to the swearing in of permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces. Your names will be called per province. Thereafter, you will approach the table and form a line. And those who taking the oath will repeat after me, followed by those taking the affirmation. And once sworn in, delegates will take their seats to allow the next provincial delegation to approach the table. Delegates will be requested to sign the 2 copies of their certificates in the space provided for their signature and leave them on their tables. I now request the returning officer and assistant returning officers to call names per province.
Makifeni, Mwelo Nonkonyane, Mary Bernadette Ntlangisa, Mandla Matthews Peter, Joseph Hendrik Peter Bretz, Nolubabalo Patience Mcinga.
Let me first announce the contents of the oath or affirmation that will be taken by those who are about to take the oath or affirmation now, so that the public understands exactly what they committed themselves to. It reads, I, and they will say their names, and in the case of an oath, swear that I will be faithful, I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties in terms of the rules for the election of President of, that's not the right one. Is it this one? Okay, no. Is it this one? Should do. Just check it properly. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I nearly made you do what you're not supposed to do. They'll get me the Constitution so that we make sure you take the right oath and affirmation. So I'll suspend the proceedings for now. Thank you very much. The oath and affirmation that is applicable is provided for in item 4.1 of Schedule 2 to the Constitution. says oath or solemn affirmation of members of the National Assembly, permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces and members of provincial legislatures. And of course, this is permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces. And 4.1 says members of the or permanent delegates of the National Council of Provinces must, before the Chief Justice or a judge designated by the Chief Justice, swear or affirm as follows. And I'm just going to read the oath stroke affirmation so that the public knows what those who are taking the oath or affirmation commit themselves to. It reads, I, and then it will be the name of the person, swear, that is in case of an oath, solemnly affirm, in the case of an affirmation, that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a permanent delegate to the National Council of Provinces to the best of my ability. And in the case of those taking the oath, they will then raise their hand and say, so help me God. And in the case of those who take the affirmation, they will say, I do. That is the contents of the oath that the permanent delegates will be taking. I've now read the oath and the affirmation. Is there any one of you who has an objection to taking the oath or affirmation? Everyone either takes the oath or affirmation, is that correct? Yes. Do you consider the oath or affirmation binding on your conscience? Yes. Yes. Thank you. You will then say after me, I swear, in the case of those who take the oath say swear, and those who take the affirmation say solemnly affirm. Okay, I read on, I'm sorry, read on, just read on. I think it's better that way.
Ndibambathisa ngokunyanisekileyo okokuba ndiyakunyaniseka kwiRiphabhliki yoMzantsi Afrika kwaye ndiyakuthobela ndiwuhlonele kwaye ndiwuxhase umgaqo-siseko nayo yonke eminye imithetho yeRiphabhliki kwaye ndiyathembisa ngokunyanisekileyo okokuba ndiyakuyenza imisebenzi yam njengomthunywa osisigxina kwibhunga lesizwe lamaphondo kangangoko ndinako.
So help me God. Yes, those who took the oath say, so help me God. Those who took the affirmation say, I do. Thank you very much. Thank you. You will sign your certificates where you, will they sign in their seats? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Mapule Gladys Damini, Edwin Pizzo, Noe, Begizizwe Abram Khadebe, Igor Skiergel, Mandisa Makesin, Tamarin Briet, Igor Skiergel.
Thank you very much. You have read the oath or affirmation, or you heard it when I read it. Is that correct? Yes. Do you have any objection to taking it, whether it's the oath or affirmation? No. Do you consider it binding on your conscience? Yes. Please read it aloud.
I, Igor Skierkogel, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic. I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a permanent delegate to the National Council of Provinces to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Those who took the oath, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. You will sign your certificates at your seats. Oh, you already signed them.
Mpo Gift Modise, Jane Seboletwe Mananiso, Dennis Richard Raider, Nicholas Susan Duplessis, Naledi Nokukanya Chirwa, Edward Nzimande.
You are aware of the oath or affirmation you are about to take, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking it?
No.
Do you consider it binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please read it aloud.
I, Naledi solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic.
And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a permanent delegate to the National Council of Provinces to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Those who took the oath, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. You will sign your certificates at your seats.
Zamathembu Nokthula Ngcobo, Sieng Mabathu Mokoena, Jerome Sibongiseni Majola, Mzamo Bili, Thomas Mxolisi Kaunda, Kubalan Govenda.
Are you familiar with the oath or affirmation you are about to take?
Yes. Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking it?
No.
Do you consider it binding on your conscience?
Yes. Yes.
Please read it aloud.
I, Kaunda, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic. And I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a permanent delegate to the National Council of Provinces to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Those who took the oath, raise your right hands and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, I do. Thank you very much. You will sign your certificates at your seats.
Pirione Pala, Regina Molokome, Franz Mukwele, Sanin Ndlovu, Nicholas Hendrik Pinar, Macy Kennedy.
Are you familiar with the oath or affirmation you are about to take?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking it?
No.
Do you consider it binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please read it aloud.
I, Kennedy, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic.
and I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a permanent delegate to the National Council of Provinces to the best of my ability.
Those who took the oath, please raise your right hands and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, "I do." Thank you very much. You will sign your certificates at your seats. Thank you.
Refilwe Maria Mtsweni Tsipane, Cecilia Sylvia Ngumalo, Mtikeni Patrick Sibande, Hildegard Sonia Boshoff, Sfiso Advocate Zulu, Kaya Treza. Sylvia Zulu, Sylvia Ngumalo Zulu. Okay.
Cecilia Sylvia Ngumalo.
Are you familiar with the oath or affirmation you're about to take?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking it? No. Do you consider it binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please read it aloud.
I, Mtikeni Patrick Sibande, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic, and I solemnly promise to perform my function as permanent delegate to the National Council of Provinces to the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
Thank you. Those who took the oath, please raise your right hands and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you very much.
Kedi Mosemane Khape Moimang, Desiree Wellen Finis, Solomon Patrick Mabilo, Ofense Jeremiah Mukai, Anacleta Matapelo Suisa, Hendrik Jacobus Vandenberg.
Are you familiar with the oath or affirmation you're about to take?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking it?
No. Objection.
Do you consider it binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please read it aloud.
I, Anacleta Matabelo Suisa, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic, and I solemnly promise to perform my functions as a permanent delegate to the National Council of Provinces to the best of my abilities.
Thank you. Those who took the oath, please raise your right hands and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, "I do." I do. Thank you very much. You may return to your seats.
Sylvia Louise Sithole, Tibimalo Innocentia Lekwase, Bakisang Solomon Mabebu, Onika Dipuo Midupi, Jean Margaret Andrianse, Letitia Heloise Aris.
Are you familiar with the oath or affirmation you're about to take?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking it?
No.
Do you consider it binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please read it aloud.
I, Letitia Louise Arias, swear that I will not be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and I will obey that and uphold the Constitution and all the laws of the I solemnly perform my function as a permanent delegate of the delegation of province to the best of my ability.
Dan mijn beste vermogen uit te voeren.
Thank you very much. Those who took the oath, please raise your right hands and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, "I do." Thank you. You may return to your seats.
Thank you.
Frederick Jacobus Badenost, Nicholas Gottsel, Paul John Swart, Bino Jan Farmer, Matilda Baines, Virgil Gerike.
Are you familiar with the oath or affirmation you're about to take?
Yeah.
Do you have any objection to taking it?
No.
Do you consider it binding on your conscience?
Yeah.
Please read it aloud.
Ik, Paul John Swart, verklaar mij trouw aan de Republiek van Zuid-Afrika en dat ik de grondwet en de andere rechten van de Republiek zal gehoorzamen, eerbiedig en onderhouden en beloven van mijn functies als vaste afgevaardigde van de Nationale Raad provincies naar de beste van mijn vermogen uit te voeren.
Thank you. Those who took the oath, please raise your right hands and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Those who took the affirmation, say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you very much. You may return to your seats. We are now going to proceed to the election of the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Before we do so, I would like to announce that the rules as contemplated in item 9 of Part A of Schedule 3 to the Constitution were made available to members. I would like to inform you that Mr. George, Secretary to Parliament, has been appointed as the returning officer as required by the rules. In addition, the returning officer has appointed the following assistant returning officers: Advocate M.E. Pindela, Secretary to the National Council of Provinces; Advocate B.N. Nonyane; Ms. S. Bowers; Ms. V.H. Mnana; Ms. S. Ali; Advocate M.C. Mbebe; Advocate M.K. Skolo; Mr. L. Ngelewa; Ms. N. Ernston; and Ms. Y. Gangarem. And I would like now to inform you of the election procedure. Nominations should be submitted in the prescribed form and duly seconded. In terms of item 4 of Part A of Schedule 3 to the Constitution, no debate will be allowed. I now call for nominations of candidates in terms of item 2 of Part A of Schedule 3 to the Constitution for the position of chairperson.
This side, Chief Justice.
Yes.
Greetings to yourself, Honorable Chief Justice. My name is Kenneth Mosimane Muima, a permanent delegate from the province of Northern Cape. I rise proudly to nominate Honorable Refilwe Mutsweni-Tsipane as the National Chairperson of the National Council of Province. Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice.
I'm sorry, I don't know whether it's the optics. I can't hear well. I don't know whether you are far from your mic. Your mouth is too far from your mic. Maybe if you do it like that, it's going to make it easy. Thank you. Please repeat.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice. I rise as Kenny Mosimane Muima, a permanent delegate from the province of Northern Cape, to nominate Honorable Member Refilwe Mutsweni-Tsipane to be the National Chairperson of the Council of Province. Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Yes. Okay, maybe move to another one that is working.
Honorable Chief Justice, my name is Mtikeni Patrick Sibande from Mpumalanga Province. I rise to second the name of Refilwe Tsipane Mtsweni to be a chairperson of NCOP.
Thank you very much. I will then wait for the form. I've got a form here, a nomination form. I have the name of Kenneth Moimang as the first proposer, and the second proposer, Mr. Mtikeni Patrick Sibande, but there are no signatures next to the names. I've got the name of Refilwe Mutsweni-Tsipane, and there is a signature. So I will request that the first and second proposers sign next to their names on the form. Now, this nomination form complies with the requirements and is valid. Are there other nominations? It looks like there is no other nomination. In that event, that means there is only one nominee, and I therefore declare Ms. Refilwe Msweni Tsipane duly elected. Please fetch the chair, the usher of the Black Rod.
Chief Justice of South Africa, Honorable Justice Raymond Zondo, our honorable premiers in our midst, our honorable speakers of provincial legislatures, our chief whips of provincial legislatures, our heads of our institutions supporting democracy, members of the National Council of Provinces, members of the Diplomatic Corps, our Secretary General of the African National Congress, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, our first DSG of the African National Congress, Comrade Nomvula Mokonyane, our TG of the African National Congress, Comrade Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa, our Secretary General of the ANC Women's League, Comrade Nokuthula Nqaba, and all other leaders from other political parties. Thank you for gracing this important occasion. Distinguished guests, it is with great humility and a deep resolve to honor
your trust that I assume the position of chairperson in the National Council of Provinces during the 7th parliamentary dispensation. It is indeed an honor for me to serve our constitution, which is the base framework for democratic governance in South Africa. Far from being purely prescriptive and constraining, our constitution is permissive and enabling, putting the power of the state in pursuit of a positive project of achieving equality, justice, and freedom. Honorable members, the NCOP, as the second chamber of the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa, is constitutionally mandated to ensure that provincial interests are taken into account in the national sphere of government. Since its inception, the NCOP has always played an important role in the promotion of the principles of cooperative governance and intergovernmental relations. To this end, the critical intergovernmental relations mandate of the NCOP ensures that the three spheres of government work together cooperatively in performing their unique constitutional functions. This mandate compels the NCOP to deepen synergy across the three spheres of government on matters of concurrent competence. Honorable members, the important flagship programs that have repositioned the NCOP as a formidable second chamber in the execution of the electoral mandate of the 6th dispensation include the following: Taking Parliament to the People program, the Provincial Week program, as well as the Local Government Week program. These strategic programs have over the years become institutionalized public participation and oversight programs, which will continue to improve on as part of the evolutionary path of the NCOP's work. Under the Sector Parliaments program, the NCOP has also made great strides in institutionalizing key oversight and report back programs. Some of the key Sector Parliaments programs driven by the NCOP includes the Women's Parliament, Youth Parliament, Men's Parliament, as well as the Provincial Women's Charter Report Back program. Additionally, the NCOP has institutionalized the three-sphere planning sessions, whose primary objective is to address planning and coordination disjunctures across the three spheres of government. Now, the NCOP has also implemented a number of strategic oversight and public participation programs, which includes the State Capability Summits, the Inclusive Economic Growth Oversight Summits, the Reconstruction and Recovery Plan Oversight Summits, as well as the high-level commemorative day lectures. Through the effective execution of its core function, the NCOP has hence been strategically repositioned over the past few years to improve the quality of life of ordinary South Africans, particularly the poor and the marginalized across our country. Honorable members, as we begin with the task of the 7th Parliament, the NCOP will need to address the uncertainty which is rife around the status of intergovernmental relations, decisions, and recommendations. We must also address issues relating to who takes responsibility for the follow-up of recommendation, key executive undertakings, whilst addressing the lack of horizontal integration between activities of various government departments. To this end, the NCOP must foster and maintain a dynamic relationship with provinces, particularly the provincial legislatures, as well as the communities that we serve. It is my sincere hope that permanent delegates will serve as active agents for the ongoing promotion of a dynamic interaction with their provinces. The significance of this ongoing interaction cannot be overemphasized, as this facilitates a useful link between both provincial and national spheres of government. South Africa is still faced with a wide variety of developmental challenges, which includes the high levels of poverty, inequality and unemployment, slow economic growth, as well as the gender-based violence and femicide. As we enter this critical phase of advancing key policy deliverables across the length and breadth of our beloved South Africa, we must collectively strive to work cooperatively with all our stakeholders to address the developmental challenges of the nation. We must also collectively strive to ensure that this new era of transformation and impact-driven oversight yields key deliverables of all our people as guided by the electoral mandate of the current dispensation. As I conclude, honorable members, allow me to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the former chairperson of the NCOP, the Honorable Amos Masondo, for the sterling work he has done over the past years. Let me also express my sincere gratitude to the former deputy chairperson of the NCOP, the Honorable Sylvia Lucas, including all other presiding officers of the 6th Parliament for their excellent work in managing the institution with such devotion. Honorable members, I would like to give you my assurance that I will execute my obligations the obligations of my office in accordance with the provision of our Constitution and to the very best of my ability. My door remains open to each one of you as we traverse this important era of transformation. I thank you all. Honorable delegates, I have been informed that heads of delegation of the President of SALGA would like to convey congratulatory messages. Please proceed in this alphabetic order. I will start with Eastern Cape. If there isn't anyone from SALGA, may I call the heads of delegations to do that? Oh, there's the President of SALGA. Over to you, President.
Chairperson of the NCOP, the Chief Justice, premiers of our land, South Africa, coming from different provinces, permanent delegates of this House. It is an honor to us as South African local government in building relations with the institution of this one, such as this one. Within the context of cooperative governance and intergovernmental relations, it's an honor to us to congratulate this House to elect the chair and a new chair, and we are hoping and believing that we will build on the work that we have done in the 6th Parliament to this 7th Parliament, with an intention of expeditiously dealing with the challenges that are faced by communities, working collaboratively as a single unit of government and responding to challenges that we are facing in our communities. And we hope and believe that the projects that we have agreed on the 6th Parliament, and as I listened to, as you outlined them in your welcoming statement, we really appreciate that, and it is our commitment as local government family to work with this House in dealing with the challenges of our communities. Congratulations for having a successful sitting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President. I will now proceed to the provincial leaders of delegations. I will start then with Eastern Cape.
Chairperson and the officials, Honorable Chief Justice Zondo, and the leaders of the African National Congress that are here, and all leaders of various political formations that are here, fellow delegates, and honored guests. I rise to deputize for our leader, to express our warm wishes for you, Chairperson, for having been elected unopposed by all of us. Thank you for the wonderful words from the Eastern Cape, leadership of the African National Congress, as well as all political formations that are emerging from that mighty province. A province that we all know, Lephondo Lengwele, where kings, heroes, and heroines emerge. We want to assure you that as deployees of the African National Congress will not fail you in discharging your duties. Fortunately, we know you very well. You are one of the trusted and tested leaders of our movement. Rest assured of our support at all times. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I will then move on to Free State.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. To yourselves as the Chair, the newly elected Chair, the Chief Justice, honorable members, fellow South Africans, we are truly gratefully honored to congratulate you, Chair, on taking office as the Chairperson, and also congratulate the incoming Deputy Chairperson, though not yet elected, so that we don't come on the podium to congratulate all of you at a later stage. We believe that we are witnessing something truly historic in the political annal of our great nation. We are, in some way, reminded today of the excitement and enthusiasm in our country at a time of our transition to democracy. We are also excited, Chair, to witness that in both two houses we have appointed both the Chair, who is a woman, and the Speaker of the National Assembly as a woman. We are saying we are grateful as a nation that we are led by women. People in our country have once more been inspired to believe that through common human effort, injustice can be overcome, and that together we can build a better nation for all. As honorable members are aware, the NCOP occupies a unique position within our constitutional system of governance. This derives from the fact that it is the only institution with this system that straddles all three spheres of government, being national, provincial, and local government. This places the NCOP as a strategic oversight position. It has possibility and a mandate to keep constant eye on the process that must integrate legislative and executive decision in all spheres of government. We therefore wish you strength and fortitude in the challenging days and years ahead. As a Free State province, we are saying congratulations on a very historic month, June month, a month of young people. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll then request Gauteng Province.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me extend my warm greetings to our Chief Justice. Thank you so much, Chief Justice, and all the delegates that are here. Ours is simple. It's to serve our people, inspire them, and ensure that their lives are changed for the better. We are all told it's much better when we work together than when we are divided. We are all told it's much better when we don't leave anyone behind. And processes of the last 2 days or so have demonstrated one thing and one thing only. South Africa is now better. Ours is to fast-track that betterness. We are also told that in the new future, it's not the big that will defeat the small, it's the faster that will defeat the slow. Our task is to move with speed and move faster to serve our people. Madam Chair, congratulations. You enjoy our support in every inch of Gauteng. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Can I invite the province of KwaZulu-Natal?
Thank you so much, Chairperson, for affording us this opportunity. Let us greet your good self. Let us greet our CJ, Mtiane. Thank you so much for ensuring that we drive a sterling democracy in our midst. We are graced to have the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Mbalula Qengeba, with your collective, Comrade DSG, the TG, and the entire collective, other political formation that have also created a comprehensive outlook of South Africa that we are going to see today. I'm sure we all agree, Chairperson, that South Africa of the yesteryear must be characterized and be portrayed with new vigor that the camaraderie spirit must ooze and permit, because we need each other if we are to build a betterment for our people, if we are to build the strongest wielded nation. We must work together as one. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, KwaZulu-Natal. I will then take this opportunity and invite the province of Limpopo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. A special greeting to Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, and also our Secretary General, who is also with our Deputy Secretary, First Deputy Secretary General, and our Treasurer General, the leadership of the African National Congress, delegates from all our provinces who are here. I rise on behalf of the People's Eden, the province of Limpopo, to convey our message of congratulations to you, Madam Chairperson, to say we are proud of your election and we want to guarantee you our support as the people of Limpopo. We are saying it's not going to be an easy journey, as you will note that one of the most responsibility bestowed on this National Council of Provinces is to make laws, and in making those laws, you would be forced to pass, to amend, and sometimes reject, because this is an important tax. As provinces, we will need those laws to be passed. Sometimes we will differ, but we are hoping that through your guidance, you'll be able to navigate this house so that South Africa move forward. We want to always remember and ask all of us to remember that we are here because people have voted for us. Our people are not looking for slogans. Our people are not interested in the ideology. They are not interested into how much you can unpack Marxism. Our people are looking for jobs. Our people are looking for water. Our people are looking for quality education. Our people are looking for quality healthcare services. That's what we must remember at all times, as we will be differing into who can unpack Leninism better than the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Limpopo. I now take this opportunity and invite the province of Mpumalanga.
Chairperson of the NCOP, thanks for this opportunity, and greetings to Chief Justice Zondo. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to congratulate you as you were elected today the chairperson of this important house. Honorable Comrade Refilwe Mtsweni Tsipan, I know you more than you know yourself. You are humble, honest, respectful, disciplined, democratic. You are always accountable, transparent, a person of your own ways. Yesterday, on behalf of the province of Mpumalanga, I said, go well and represent this province of Mpumalanga. Go there and be the ambassador of Mpumalanga. Only use words when necessary. I wish you all for all. Congratulations, Comrade Tsipan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I now take this opportunity and invite the province of Northern Cape.
Ke go tlotlile modulasetulo wa Ntlha Bosetšhaba ya Kgaolo ya Diprovince, to the Chief Justice, esteemed members of this House, the leadership of the 6th administration that is present here, led by the Deputy Chairperson and the House Chairs. I saw Mama Mgwenya, but more than that, Bra Ambi, who indeed gave us a sterling leadership. Gobagi bana ga ka kakaretso le boeteledipele jwa mokgatlo o busang the top 7 under the stewardship of the Secretary General. Allow me to rise on behalf of the Northern Cape delegation, on behalf of Dr. Zamani's soul, to express our congratulatory remarks on your election, Mayor Refilwe Mtsweni Tsipan, as the chair of the National Council of Province. Indeed, our congratulatory remarks is informed by the fact that you were able to display sterling leadership to the people of Mpumalanga, but more than that, the guidance that you received from the ruling party, which is the dominant narrative informed by the outcome of the May 29 national and provincial election. Indeed, our starting point in terms of the congratulatory remarks to yourself is in expectation that you'll do everything in pursuit of our strategic objective of the mighty, mighty African National Congress to unite all the people of South Africa, Africans in particular, for the complete liberation of the country from all forms of discrimination. More than that, we will be giving you support. We express the commitment to fully give our commitment, our dedication, and commitment to ensure that indeed this House becomes a vibrant and energetic House. We do this, of course, appreciating the fact that the ground has shifted. The narrative that we have has given effect to the new political permutation that, as the country led by the mighty African National Congress and its partners in the GNU, resolved to chart. And the ANC-led parliament was guided and heeded the call by George Willem Frederik Hegel when he advised as follows, I quote, "One cannot stand above society and take a position outside history. Indeed, in leading us, Honorable National Chairperson, let the concrete conditions dictate as to how we shall chart our path in this 7th administration." Again, congratulatory remarks to yourself, Honorable National Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Northern Cape. I now invite the province of Northwest.
Thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Chief Justice, SALGA delegation, permanent delegates to the NCOP, the leadership of the African National Congress present, and other formations and leadership of other political parties present. I greet you. And I'm saying people of the Northwest, they wish you a very successful session. I can tell you and assure you, Chairperson, that your election today demonstrates what is called the future is female. And on the basis of that, we share a very special We share a very special relationship. Myself coming from the Northwest in the district of Dr. Ruth Sekgomotsi Mompati, and yourself with the relationship of people of Ma Musa, and myself coming from the same region. We say we love you. We don't have any doubt that you grew in this movement. You are what you are today because of this organization called the African National Congress. You have been trained, and we believe that your experience in the organization and government as you were deployed by the ANC gave you the necessary skills and training that demonstrates that you are capable and up to the task. We believe that you are going to lead and navigate the House in the interest of provinces. And we believe that all the experience that you gain in Mpumalanga, you'll come here and give the necessary leadership. We are excited, and we believe that as you outline in your remark, the public participation should be at the center, and we believe that take this House to the people. And we believe that quite often, as you interact with our people, you'll understand the depth of hunger, inequality, poverty, unemployment, and the general despair and apathy that our people have. And on the basis of that, we believe that as you come here, you will then focus and deal with the developmental agenda, which should be centered in the interest of intergovernmental relations, but premise on what is called a DDM approach. And we believe with that will have a meaningful impact. With those words, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Northwest. I'm now moving to the province of Western Cape.
Honorable Chief Justice Zondo, duly elected NCOP Chair, Honorable Permanent Delegates, leaders of the Democratic Alliance, leadership that are here today, thank you very much for being here, and distinguished guests. I bring you greetings from the well-run Western Cape. And may I say, Honorable Chair, congratulations on your election. To my friends in the African National Congress, I believe some humble pie will be served for lunch today. The National Council of Provinces play a crucial role in Parliament, as this is where the voices of residents in our provinces in South Africa are heard in Parliament through us, their delegates. We in the Western Cape look forward in playing our role as an integral part of the Government of National Unity project in rescuing South Africa, and much work needs to be done. Voters in South Africa have spoken, and our responsibility in the NCOP is to heed their call in unity in governance. Honourable Chair, you will find that our House is indeed a house of robust debate, but this is always done in the spirit of a common goal to strengthen constitutional principles. We look forward to serving South Africa and all its residents in the 7th Parliament, specifically the National Council of Provinces. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, we will now move to the election of the Chief Whip of the National Council of Provinces. I wish to remind you that nominations should be submitted in a prescribed form and be duly seconded. I now call upon the nomination of candidates in terms of the Council Rule 14, subsection 1. Honourable member, I see the honourable member at the back.
Honourable Chairperson of the Council, I, Pegizizwe Khatebe, a fully fledged, a permanent member, a permanent delegate from the Free State to the NCOP, hereby nominate Honourable Moimeng Kenneth as the Chief Whip of the Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. You may take your seat. Can I get the seconder of the nominated Honourable Member Kenny? I note the hand of Honourable Member from Northern Cape.
Honourable Chairperson, my name is Desiree Finis, Permanent Delegate of the Northern Cape. I second the name of Honourable Kenny Moyamang as Chief of the Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Is there a second nominee? Can I request that those who nominated fill in the forms and send them back to the Secretary of the House? Honorable nominee, are you accepting the nomination?
Ke go tlhompile modulasetulo wa bontsi ba bosetšhaba ke amogela tsitsinyo jaaka semesegolo sa ntlo ena.
I have received the acceptance form of Honorable Moimang, which is duly filled in and signed. Can I get the other forms? Do you have them? There being no further nominations, I then declare Honorable Kenny Moimang as the Chief Whip of the National Council of Provinces. And on behalf of all present here today, I wish to convey our congratulations to Honorable Moimang as the Chief Whip of the House. Congratulations. Having said that, honorable members, I want to take this opportunity and give it to Honorable Moimang to give us his maiden speech.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson of the National Council of Province, Honorable Mayor Refule Ntweni Tsipani, to the Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, honorable members of the Council, both permanent and special delegates, our special guests in the gallery, particularly the former members of the National Council of Province, the leadership of and representative of the organized government, SALGA, the representative and leadership of the Institution of Traditional Leadership, to the leadership of the African National Congress that is present in this House, led by the SG and other officials that are here, and also members of other political parties that are here, and also those that are part of the GNU, members of the diplomatic corps, representative of the media, our guests in the public gallery, allow me to express my profound appreciation of the confidence that my party, the African National Congress, and the members of the Government of National Unity and other political parties that has bestowed it upon me. I'm indeed National Chair, humble, and can only assure all of you and the people of our country that it is not only through integrity, diligence, and hard work that honor associated with this position shall born. Indeed, National Chair, today marks yet another important milestone after the historic 2024 national and provincial elections. The election of the office bearers of the National Council of Provinces, which is the second house of our democratic parliament. We are assembled here on this day, National Chair, that precedes the 48th anniversary of the 1976 June 16 Youth Uprising that we are reconstituting Parliament as a central institution of democracy to continue the journey of addressing the historical injustices of the past. This imposes immense duty, National Chair, upon us never to fail the youth of our country. We do this indeed, humbled by the fact that the people, as final arbiter in the battle of ideas for the building of the National Democratic Society with social content, have spoken clear and loudly that united in our diversity, we must continue the journey started by our forebears, the founding fathers of our Constitution, and most importantly, the leaders of this august House in the democratic dispensation, the likes of Goff, the like of Menaledi Pandor, Memudise, Praambi, and also those that led under their stewardship and their respective deputy chairpersonship and house chairs. Among the abiding legacy of these leaders, which we must emulate, is how to unite in the midst of fundamental political and ideological differences in pursuit of the common national agenda, which is the creation of a national democratic society with social content. It is my assurance to the people of South Africa as the newly elected Chief Whip of this august House, National Chair, that will do everything to the best of my ability, supported by honorable members, to ensure that our differences do not stand on the way of a bigger national agenda of reconstruction and development program. National Chair, I implore all of us in this august House to join hands, united in diversity, to re-inspire the confidence of our people in Parliament as a central institution of democracy by pushing back the frontiers of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. We should do this mindful of the core constitutional mandate of this House, namely promoting and dispensing and deepening integrated cooperative governance and being the vanguard of the interest of provinces. At the core of this task, National Chair, should be the strengthening of our system of local government, which has over the recent past seen a need for cooperation, a need for capacity building. Informed by the diagnostic report of the National Planning Commission, which identified an area of integration, coordination, and cooperation between the three spheres of our system of democratic governance as one of the critical challenges of governance since 1994. Honorable National Chair, honorable members will agree that without a strong, robust, and effective local government, there can be no national reconstruction and development. Precisely by virtue of the fact that the Constitution locates this House at the intersection of the three spheres of our system of governance. It is therefore, in conclusion, Chair, my contention that turning the system of local government around should be among the critical tests against which the success of this House should be measured in this 7th democratic parliament. Honorable Chair, allow me to assure all political parties represented in this august House that every voice will be heard and persuasion should be the hallmark of our working style.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Whip Moimang. Honorable members, I would like to take this opportunity and thank Honorable Chief Justice Zondo, the leaders from various political parties, the former Deputy Speaker of the House, Honorable Sylvia Lucas, the Chief Whip, as well as the Deputy Chief Whip of the National Assembly, the special delegates, for your attendance and participation in the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces of the 7th Parliament. The House is adjourned.
In the month of June, Parliament joins the nation in commemorating Youth Month, a time to recognize the contributions and aspirations of the youth in our society, a time to reflect on the struggles faced by young people in the past and to celebrate their achievements in shaping the future. Youth Month holds great significance in South Africa as it marks the anniversary of the student uprising in 1976, when young people took to the streets to protest against the oppressive apartheid education system. Their courage and sacrifice have paved the way for a more inclusive and equitable society. Parliament acknowledges the importance of investing in the youth, as they are the future leaders, innovators, and change makers. It is committed to creating an enabling environment for young people to thrive, providing access to quality education, skills development, and economic opportunities. Through various initiatives and legislation, Parliament aims to address the challenges faced by the youth, such as unemployment, inequality, and limited access to resources. It recognizes the need for inclusive policies that empower young people and ensure their active participation in decision-making processes. As we commemorate Youth Month, let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting the youth and working towards a society where every young person can reach their full potential. Together, let us build a brighter future for the youth of South Africa. Parliament, empowering the youth for a better tomorrow.
And welcome back to Parliament TV. And of course, that concludes the proceedings of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. And of course, this means that the House is duly constituted.
Definitely, it's about the House. The National Council of Provinces has been duly constituted with the appointment of the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the former Premier of Mpumalanga, Ms. Refulwe Motsoeneng-Tshipane, who now takes over as the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, and she was elected unopposed, so we did not go through the process of voting that we went through yesterday because there were no other nominations. And upon that election, she emphasized the importance of the role of the National Council of Provinces, which is ensuring that provincial interests are taken into account in the national sphere. And furthermore, she gave her assurance to follow, to perform the task before her in line with the provisions of the Constitution and to the best of her ability. And after that, she then took over, after she was elected, she then took over the chair and presided over the appointment of the Chief Whip of the National Council of Provinces. I had explained earlier that it works differently to the National Assembly because the National Assembly Chief Whip is that of the majority party, but with the National Council of Provinces, the chief whip is for the National Council of Provinces. And in this instance, Mr. Kenneth Moimang, who was also elected unopposed, is now the chief whip of the National Council of Provinces for the 7th administration.
And of course, viewers will appreciate the contrast of events and proceedings between the two houses. Of course, with the proceedings of the National Assembly, we all sat here until the wee hours of the morning, and for each and every office bearer, there were elections because there was more than one nomination for each office bearer. And of course, in contrast to the events of yesterday, this was quite smooth sailing. You had one nomination for the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces and one nomination for the chief whip, who will then also be an office bearer in this august house.
And now inaugurate upresident siyijonge uba loo nto leyo yenzeke ngolwesithathu, and once loo nto leyo yenzeka kulapho ke usawutsho sibone umongameli appointa ikhabhinethi yakhe ezokwazi nikeza i-direction to iparliament on how to establish its committees, because parliament can only establish its committees once there's a cabinet, because each committees of parliament, in particular the National Assembly, they are aligned to the government departments. For an example, if as a minister of traditional affairs and cooperative governance, then there will be a portfolio committee on traditional affairs and cooperative governance. Works a little bit different with the NCOP, as you have highlighted yesterday, that the NCOP has the select committees. But make it easy for our viewers to understand what we're talking about, maybe we should have a look at this clip which speaks on the role of the National Assembly.
Building our great South African nation together. The Parliament of the Republic of South Africa consists of two houses, the National Assembly as well as the National Council of Provinces. The National Council of Provinces, or NCOP for short, is constitutionally mandated to ensure that provincial interests are taken into account in the national sphere of government.
The NCOP is uniquely placed to reflect the diversity of our society and to synthesize the experience of those spheres of government charged with the great bulk of the task of implementing the country's national program of fundamental change, close quote.
This is done through participation in the national legislative process and by providing a national forum for consideration of issues affecting provinces. The NCOP also ensures that local government concerns are represented at the highest level. The NCOP consists of 9 provincial delegations nominated by the provincial legislatures and a delegation from the South African Local Government Association, or SALGA for short. Each provincial delegation has 10 members made up of 4 special delegates drawn from the provincial legislature, including the Premier of the province or a person designated by the Premier as head of the delegation. These delegates may change from time to time. In addition to that, there are also 6 permanent delegates. This means every province is equally represented in the NCOP. Similar to its counterpart, the NCOP has office bearers who are responsible for overseeing the duties of the House. Chairperson and 2 deputy chairpersons manage the work of the NCOP and preside over debates, making sure that delegates can speak freely while remaining within the rules. Of the 2 deputy chairpersons, one is a permanent deputy chairperson who is elected for 5 years, while provincial premiers take turns being deputy chairpersons for a year. A provincial whip organizes the work of each provincial delegation. Parties with at least 7 permanent delegates and who do not have members functioning as provincial whips are also entitled to a party whip. The NCOP considers, passes, amends, propose amendments to, or rejects legislation. It must consider all national bills. The NCOP has oversight of the executive within its role as the representative of the provinces. The NCOP may require a cabinet member, an official in the national government or a provincial government to attend a meeting of the council or a committee of the council. The NCOP also conducts oversight visits to the communities in order to ensure that they get direct information on the needs and challenges of the people. All these efforts to make your future work better.
In the month of June, Parliament joins the nation in commemorating Youth Month, a time to recognize the contributions and aspirations of the youth in our society, a time to reflect on the struggles faced by young people in the past and to celebrate their achievements in shaping the future. Youth Month holds great significance in South Africa as it marks the anniversary of the student uprising in 1976, when young people took to the streets to protest against the oppressive apartheid education system. Their courage and sacrifice have paved the way for a more inclusive and equitable society. Parliament acknowledges the importance of investing in the youth, as they are the future leaders, innovators, and changemakers. It is committed to creating an enabling environment for young people to thrive, providing access to quality education, skills development, and economic opportunities. Through various initiatives and legislation, Parliament aims to address the challenges faced by the youth, such as unemployment, inequality, and limited access to resources. It recognizes the need for inclusive policies that empower young people and ensure their active participation in decision-making processes. As we commemorate Youth Month, let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting the youth and working towards a society where every young person can reach their full potential. Together, let us build a brighter future for the youth of South Africa. Parliament, empowering the youth for a better tomorrow.
Welcome back to Parliament TV, and if you have just tuned in, of course, the proceedings of the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces have been concluded. This means that the National Council of Provinces is duly constituted. Of course, viewers will appreciate the fact that the Chief Justice presided over the election of the chairperson of the NCOP and the newly elected chairperson of the NCOP, rather. She presided over the election of the chief whip of the House. I think it's important, Nkosi, that we appreciate the role of the Chief Justice, he played a significant role in both first sittings, both in the National Assembly and in the National Council of Provinces.
Indeed, Tshepo, they cannot go unnoticed, the role that has been played by the Chief Justice, Mr. Raymond Zondo. And as you have just indicated, the business of today has finished. The National Council of Provinces has been constituted. And for those that were unable to follow the proceedings and only joined us now, you can still watch all these proceedings. You can use our social media handle at Parliament of RSA. We are available on X, formerly Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram, and we are on YouTube. It's at Parliament of RSA, and you can also watch 408 as we'll be replaying some of the events of this weekend. It's been a very busy 2 days for Parliament, but out of that busy 2 days, National Assembly has a speaker, a deputy speaker, the nation has a president, the National Council of Provinces has a chairperson and a chief whip. What else can we ask for?
Now the work begins, Tim Nkosi. Now the work begins. Thank you so much for tuning in to Parliament TV. Of course, for more information on the functions and the roles of these different houses, you can visit parliament.gov.za. Lakali Bitso ke Tshepo Mori.
Igama lami linguThembi Nkosi Ngoma, and goodbye.